What is going on, YouTube? We are just a few days away from the early access Lost Ark release if you pre-ordered, and February 11th if you didn't, if you want to play for free. That being said, I just started playing this on the Russian server about a couple weeks ago, and I wanted to give you guys a lot of the stuff that I have found, and most importantly, why you should play Lost Ark. I'm going to go over a system that I like to call the good, the bad, and the in-between. Let's get into it. But most importantly, before we do me a favor, click that like button, click the subscribe, share this with a friend. I appreciate you doing that. Let's get into the video. Let's talk about the good stuff. And there's a lot of good stuff to be had in Lost Ark. The biggest one, and I think this is the most selling point of the game, we are getting a release on NA of a very well-polished and well-rounded game. We're not getting a half-finished product. We're getting something that has had years already on the Korean servers and multiple other regions for them to be able to tweak and improve and add a ton of content. Speaking of content, there is so much content in this game which we are getting on NA release. I am talking about a game within a game within a game. It's the best way I can describe it, because every time you do a certain aspect of the game or content, it feels like you're playing a different genre. Yes, it's an MMORPG, but if you take that away, it feels like, depending on what you're doing, sometimes you're playing a MOBA. Sometimes you're playing a typical ARPG like Diablo. Other times, if you do some of the PvP, it's gonna feel like that WoW arena, maybe mixed with League of Legends MOBA style feel. It just seems like this game is being set up in a way that if you want to sink a lot of time into it and be at it for a while, you can have this as a main game. Like, I've been looking for something like this for a long time, and I feel really good about this one. And what better way to have a main game or mainstay than having that flashy prettiness and that detail-oriented aspect? And this game has that. This is very flashy. A lot of the spells are just like, boom, they're so satisfying, they're in your face, tons of particle effects. I feel like it just feels so good. It feels like you're in an anime basically, and it's just exciting to have that flashiness when you are actually playing the game. Not to mention the weight of those effects and the abilities that you use, they give you that hype feeling, that extra dopamine release when you're playing the game. It's just a ton of fun to be able to experience it compared to other MMOs that I have played personally. Speaking of NA release and how I mentioned how other regions have had time to get stuff, this is a big one. Just recently, they actually announced that we are actually going to get DX11 or DirectX 11 on launch for Lost Ark. That is actually going to be before the Japan servers and the Russian servers. So we're going to be almost on even keel to where Korea is right now. That's big. That's massive, right? They clearly are trying to put the NA launch pretty much as a high priority, and they want us all to have a good experience right off the gate. That shows a lot about the development company Smilegate and even Amazon Game Studios publishing it. It means they really want to see this succeed, in my honest opinion. This is another big boost. The amount of potential for the esports scene when it comes to the PvP in this game is insane. Guys, I want you to think like WoW Arena, like the tournaments they used to do, or BlizzCon every year, that whole entire championship, or like the Overwatch League, or even the League of Legends esports scene. It just seems like because of the amount of little genres are in this game and how much there is with it, you could really see a pretty big sized esports scene. If it takes off and someone wants to be able to put forth that time, or if there's enough player base and popularity, and I personally think there will be. There's so much potential for this, and we're already seeing a lot of it coming from many tournaments that came from the Korean side. There's already been a tournament scene, shoutcasters, there's been grand champions basically. I mean, I've had the pleasure to talk to a couple of them, and they're really cool, and you can hear the excitement that they're having for the NA release as well. Something to keep an eye out. Even if you're not going to try to compete in that regard, it's going to add that fun that we all like to enjoy, watching these professionals do what they do best. Circling back to one of the biggest things that I think is a big pro of this game, lots of content. We've got ranked arenas, a whole arena scene that has like a team deathmatch or like a 1v1 dueling situation where you keep playing until you're dead. The 3v3s, you've got dungeons, raids, you've got life skill stuff. You basically get to play Sims in this game with your whole estate and your whole island. You've got RVR coming, Battlegrounds coming. You've got Guild versus Guild for territory stuff. Like, it just keeps going. Even just telling you this, I don't feel like I scratched the surface. I feel like I took a toothpick, a really small rubber mallet, went to the iceberg, pinged the back of the toothpick just a little bit, and gave you a snowflake. And then you still have the rest of the iceberg left of the game. Like, that's how much I feel is gonna, there's so much depth and weight to Lost Ark. But like anything, there's always a few negatives and some things that you need to be talked about before you just get super hyped in this game. And now, even though I might be a little bit biased because I'm really looking forward to Lost Ark, I also realize there's going to be some things that aren't going to be the best. One of those is the fact that for any release, we have yet to hear if we're going to be getting what I like to call the Korean camera fix patch, which basically made it to where you don't have to force yourself into a 21:9 aspect ratio in order to not be at a disadvantage. Now, granted, if you're doing life skills and all the other stuff and mini games and dailies, you don't have to play in this aspect. But if you are trying to do arenas or even in raids and dungeons and stuff that's going to be more like progressive content, you're really going to need to force and play into that widescreen aspect ratio, which is going to squish it and make it look a little weird on a regular 1920 by 1080 monitor because it's widescreen when you're not playing on a widescreen. But I can tell you the difference is very noticeable. Now, even though I call that kind of like a negative per se, we know that it eventually will come as a patch. But I wanted to throw this in there because we don't know when, and I've yet to find any news or hear any update regarding that. Then the classes. There's a lot of classes currently on all the other regions. For NA, we're not getting all of them. We're still going to be missing quite a handful. But again, just like the camera patch, it will be added eventually. So it's one of those things. If you have a class that you're really interested in playing, there's a couple that I personally actually would love to play, like Lance Master, for example. That's not coming out on NA. No big deal. I kind of am going to be able to play some other classes, see if I like them as much. And then when it comes out, I'll still be able to play it. But if somebody was really looking forward to playing it on NA, it is going to be kind of a bummer because you're not going to be given the class you wanted to play. With that, ergo, I had to chalk it up to kind of a negative point. Now my special segment I like to call the in-between. First off, there's no open world PvP except for a few small locations, but they did say that they are looking at expanding this. Now, this is why I call us the in-between. Some people may love that. Some people may hate that. I personally would love to have some open world PvP places that are more than just, you know, very select few. I'd like to be able to either toggle it or get into those situations or go to a whole island that's just fully contested. Assuming there's a goal to it, right? If you're just doing it just to do it, it's probably not going to attract a lot of people there. It is a fun aspect to add to a game when it has a PvP element. So I think it's something they are working on. So right now, depending if you like it or not, it's coming. Now, the elephant in the room, the isometric view of the game, the top down per se. I know a lot of people who don't really like this. It's not their cup of tea, and it's really putting them away from the game. Now, quick little sidebar on this. If you can look past that, you will enjoy this game far more than you can realize, because I feel like it's being underestimated and everyone is just focusing on the fact that it's an isometric view. Now, some people love that. They're happy it is. Me, of course, I would have liked to have it been a third person. I played a lot of WoW, I played New World, I played a lot of Final Fantasy. I'm used to that. It's a little bit more immersive. However, it doesn't bother me because it doesn't stop me from enjoying the game, because I have played games like Diablo and Path of Exile that I really enjoyed. Now, with that being said, it's one of those things that I can look past because it's kind of like the curtain of a show, all right? If you focus on the isometric view, you're focusing on the curtain. You're not focusing on the play. If you can open up the curtain, you can see the play and see how great it can really be. So I think if people can kind of look past that, I think they'll be in a really good spot. The vertical progression of this game, or the grind system per se, it's very RNG based. So when you start to get to the point where you're having to progress through, because the way this game works, I don't want to go full on into this. I will do this in another video in the future though. Basically, you upgrade your gear score, you unlock content. Boom, boom. Upgrading that gear score though is done in like a reforging, blacksmithing kind of upgrade system. And that's where the RNG comes in. So if you do all this stuff and you take the chance or the RNG is not in your favor, it could feel like the user did nothing at all, because all of those mats you use are going to be wasted, whether you have success or fail. Some people again are going to love that. Some people are going to hate it. If you like the gamble mechanics of a lot of game and you love RNG, you're going to really enjoy this. If you like being able to have certainty and know for a fact that this will work, you're probably not. And, you know, again, I'm just used to it from playing a bunch of MMOs, and I'm sure a lot of people will eventually understand that. However, let's look at the silver lining, the positive side of that. Even though it's RNG based, there's a goal, there's a reason to upgrade it, so it's not going to be the end of the world. Last but not least, the importance of alts and the class variety. Now, I know that I said that not all the classes are going to be released on NA. Nonetheless, there's still a ton of variety. Some people are going to like the fact that their class can play in multiple different ways. Foundationally, it kind of still feels very similar or has kind of like a home base. However, with things like engravings and if you're doing PvE or PvP, can really change how you play, whether it be more aggressive, defensive, more poke and harass, you know, hit and run, dive, whatever the case may be. And that's not just like class dependent, it's more of like the ability. So I would actually say class and ability variety. On top of that though, that brings to the thing of the importance of alts. The coolest thing with this is the fact that your main can be improved and upgraded with the help of your alts. I think this is a good system. Some people really like to have that laser focus on one main, and to a point you will, and they don't like to have to focus on alts. Now, I guess technically you don't have to. I really think that you want to have a couple though, at least probably 2 or 3 in my honest opinion, because there's a lot of resources that you use to upgrade that gear score that are tradable. You see where I'm going with this? You take your alts, you get your tradable resources, and you give it to your main, boosting up your main, and then you get to try out other classes that maybe you found a little bit interesting. You mix it up. It helps avoid burnout on one class. So I think it's a really good aspect. All in all, Lost Ark is coming out this week on the 8th and the 11th for early access and free to play. And if you've even had a little bit of a curiosity to try the game out, I really think you should give it a go, especially because on the 11th, it is free to play. You've got nothing to lose. The only thing you're going to use is some time. And if you're a gamer, you're going to enjoy it and you're going to know whether you like it. I think you really should give it a shot. I'm really looking forward to Lost Ark, everyone. I really hope you guys give it a shot and I think you enjoy it. But that's all I got for you today. And as always, guys, do me a favor, drop a like, drop a subscribe, drop a comment. Let me know what you guys are thinking. What class are you going to play? Are you curious about playing the game? Are you not? I want to hear your thoughts. I'm curious to hear what other people's opinions on the matter. And also, if you'd like, you can catch me live on Twitch. I do stream 4 nights a week, so I'd love to hang out with you guys. But as always, I'll see you guys in the next video. And stay shiny.